Okay, let's jam, right? I'm Seppi, for anyone who didn't figure that out yet. And this is a guide to surviving a game jam, right? I know a lot of you are veteran here, right? Or newly veterans, or folks that have never done it before. But game jams are... wrong button. Game jams are awesome, right? And this is what you want to do. You want success. You want to go from nothing to something in a given amount of time. And what it shows you not only is the entire bloody process for making a video game, but specifically it also shows that you've got, you know, the stomach lining to sit down and make it happen. You know, so you from zero to a product in so many hours, regardless of how hectic it is. You've produced a product, and bloody hell, you should put it on your resume. I'm just so impressed by anybody that can do a game jam. I would be so happy to see that kind of thing on a resume. But I'm not an employer, so don't take my word for it. Okay. First thing for success is you want to follow the rules, right? You know, there's a whole every damn jam has rules, even if it's fuck rules make games, right? There's always rules, right? And you know, if it says don't use artwork that's not not copyrighted, don't use art that's not copyrighted. If you're allowed to use it, you have to cite the source. If you're not allowed to use frameworks, whatever, just follow the rules. It's not hard, right? But with that in mind, fuck the rules. All right. The real point here is that you're making a video game, and if you want to play just by a little different rule set, that's fine. You know, you're not going to be able to submit it, but a lot of the game jam concept here is that you are going to make a game. And recently for the Bacon Game Jam, there's this one guy that made actually rather good game, but it was all these assets entirely ripped from Adventure Time. I don't know if you noticed that one. Yeah. But it was a decent game. It was actually pretty good.
Was it bacon
even
pancake?
though I'm sorry?
Bacon pancakes?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You know, it was just really, all the assets were stolen, but it was a well done game. You know, so fuck the rules, right? Next one is KISS. Keep it simple, stupid, right? This is a major design this is a major aspect in a lot of design, but it's even more essential when it comes down to dealing with, you know, game jams. The idea is you need an idea. It needs to be quick. It needs to be straightforward, and it needs to get across, right?
Hey, we should have thought of that before the last game jam.
Real point here is that
you're not allowed to. You're not allowed to kind of pitch concepts anymore.
The real point here is that, sorry, you threw me off here. You know, keeping it simple. You know, for a game jam of 48 hours, your regular attendee is going to expect about 10 minutes of gameplay. That's it, 10 minutes. More than that, they're probably going to fall off the earth. You might get one person that'll play your game, your awesomely scripted RPG for an hour. But most people aren't going to play it for more than 10 minutes. So keeping it simple is essential. Right? Sleep and eat. Right? Lots of happy food here. It's good for you, right? In a jam, you are going to be, you know, tenfold times more productive if you're awake and you're eating healthy and you're, you know, trying to, you know, survive at this point, right? You know, I will sleep 8 hours a night during jams usually. I will get lots of sleep, and I always wake up refreshed, and I get a really good product usually. Right.
I'll also add to that, shower.
Shower!
I'm going to add that. Not because you're going to smell bad, but because you'll actually have like better ideas in the shower because you'll freaking relax for once, and you'll just be like, you're not making a game, so your brain will be like, oh, I can think of all these stupid ideas now, and you'll actually come up with something better.
Okay. Sleep and eat and shower and use the restroom. Right? Don't step on people's toes. Right? You've got to let people do what they're going to do, right? If this little girl wants to set the house on fire during your game, that's good, right? But no one's going to be happy. But you've got to, you know, if you're working in, you've got multiple people on a team, right? And you've got someone, you're both coders, right? You don't need two people writing a bloody inventory system, right? The idea is person A writes the inventory system, and then person B interacts with it, treats it like a black box, right? You don't want to dig into their code and say, this is horrible, or this is different, or I don't understand how this works. It's all about black boxing, you know. So try not to step on other people's toes, because you get as much content out, as much product, as much polish as you can, and let everyone do their own thing, which comes to trust your team, right? The real point here, you got to trust people to do what they're going to do, right? If someone isn't a strong coder, or someone isn't a great, whatever, it doesn't really matter if they're good or they're bad. The real point is you have to trust them to do what they say they will do. Even if you have to reduce the amount of things required in the end, the real point is that if you're a coder and you've got an artist, you shouldn't be doing art. You should be doing what you're good, right? So trust your artist to make art, right? Chill out and have fun, right? Jams are supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be a great learning experience to teach you things that you thought you knew but you didn't know, and sleeping at your keyboard looks incredibly fun. So I thought that picture was so right? So before the jam, we're not even at the jam yet, right? This is before. So stop doing things now and do these things, right? So you're 24 hours before the jam, and there's a bunch of things you need to do so that you can be as productive as possible. Figure out how to talk, right? And this is a really weird point, because you're always thinking, well, I know how to talk, but what happens when your artist is in Virginia, or your level designers in California, right? You need to figure out how to communicate with each other, because maybe you're going to have a 48-hour-long telephone call, but I'm not sure you're going to be happy with that bill, right? Or maybe you want to set up a Skype instance, or maybe you want to use an IRC channel. Everyone needs to decide, how they're going to be available, and they need to make sure that they're always available on it, unless they're sleeping, of course, right? But so figure out how to talk to each other. Because communication is vital, especially when you're developing a video game here, right? Prepare your tool set, right? You're going to walk into, if you're going to go, to Lowe's, and you're going to buy a bunch of lumber, and you're going to go build a house, you're going to need a bloody hammer. You need a hammer, right? So, programmers might be using gedit or Vim or Emacs, and then, the artists might be using GIMP, Photoshop, or whatever. The real point here is that you need to, you need to have that with you, right? You can't just show up and say, okay, let's go. And then someone says, make art, you go, I can't make art. That's really a waste of time, honestly. The next step is know your tool set, right? The idea here is don't bring Photoshop if you don't know how to use Photoshop. Don't bring Construct 2 if you don't know how to use Construct 2. Don't use the Unreal 4 engine if you don't know how to use it, right? So know what you're using, right? Know everything that you're going to do, because while the Game Jam is learning about things you thought you knew but didn't know, the Game Jam is not about learning brand new things, unless it is a specific Game Jam for that, which I've been told. No, don't learn new things. The idea here is you're trying to create a game. You're learning the process, not the tools, right? A big thing is choose a leader, right? Assign someone to have the final say, so that when there's an argument or there's a discussion or there's a debate, however you want to put it, there's a way to make it done, simple, go, right? And while a dictatorship may not be great for morale or big open source projects or big games and such like that, it is important in something small, because it needs, a Game Jam is quick, fast execution of a very small set of features. So choose a leader, right? Here's the big one. Apologize. Apologize to your family. Apologize to your girlfriend, your boyfriend. Apologize to your cat if you don't have any of those. Apologize. I'm sorry, I'm not going to be around all weekend. I'm going to be over at Seppi's place drinking heavily, making video games. Right? So, you got a cute little cat. Apologize.
It's not adorable. Its eyes are wide. It's going to kill something in about 2 seconds. It's also a Scottish fold.
During the jam. Now stop doing things. This is where you start doing things. You stop doing things, all right? This is the plan. And if you'll be on YouTube, so I'll post this thing with it. So if you can't see it, you'll be able to download it. But this is the plan for a standard jam, right? Everything is okay. You've just started, right? You spend a little amount of time brainstorming. I usually actually spend a couple of hours brainstorming, smoking hookah. You're just relaxing. You're trying to think of ideas. You're trying to pick the best one. You don't want to pick your first idea. You want to pick one of a bunch, right? So that you have an original idea to work with, and that you're not going crazy with a large scope, right? Keep it simple, right? And then you start debbing, right? You start making the game, right? And what you want to do is at the middle point here, you want to develop your minimal viable product, which means the least amount of features that makes your game a game. Like, is your game a platformer? Then you need a platformer, you need a level, you need an end condition. Bam, that's the minimal viable product, right? And then right at this point comes the polish, right? You spend more time making more content, more games, cleaning up features, fixing bugs, blah-de-da, right? And the best, the further to the left that this point comes is the game becomes more original, right? The idea is, the other way, right? Further this way, it's more original. So the idea is that, like, if you spend all of your time developing an MVP, it's going to be a really original and unique game. You're concentrating on a lot of features in a small set. You won't have much time for polish, but you will have an original game, which is really great for prototyping and testing out in audiences, especially for a minimal viable product, if that's how you're approaching the jam. But the other side is developing more content, pushing this thing further to the left, right? And you're able to apply more, I just went through the whole damn thing. You get it, right? So I usually like having the halfway point is where the minimal viable product comes in. Because you've had half your time to develop a really cool idea, and then you've had half of the time, you already have a working game halfway through, right? So it's kind of agile here. You spend the rest of your time making the game awesome, making it clean, making it colorful, making it, all the things you've ever wanted it to be, right? This is very important if you're trying to make a good game. This is very important if you're trying to make an interesting game, right? Okay, and this plan usually devolves into this. All right, so you spend so much time brainstorming, and then you're here, and then all of a sudden you have no time for polish, right? So the big suggestion here is always.
I think this is a map of the last.
Always.
How quickly people get to that.
Always try and make sure that you're really on track. You need to make sure that your MVP is where you want it to be, right? Not at the very end when you wanted lots of polish, and not at the very beginning when you didn't really care about polish. It needs to be right where you want it. So, all right, you've done it, right? 48 hours is over. You've made it. You've crashed. You've drank lots of vodka, and you wake up the next day with a beautiful hangover, right? It's stop. Time is up, but don't stop, right? You're halfway there at this point. This part's a lot easier because it's pretty fun, right? The idea is you've posted this on the jam and people are going to start commenting. One of the really great things to do is respond to it, right? You've pushed all of this stuff out in your social networks and you're like, okay, I'm responding here so that I can get feedback and find out what was good and what was bad for future jams, right? You're trying to use this as a learning experience. Sometimes you won't get questions answered that you ask about them, clarifying, but it works. It's pretty good usually, most of the time. This is especially awesome for the Ludum Dares. Next one is rate other people's games. And you need to make sure, one of the best ways to do it is you need to leave something on the entry that shows that you as an individual have said something about the game, right? Just voting isn't going to cut it because that doesn't always show up, right? It doesn't say Seppi voted for Bunny Massacre, right? You have to leave a little comment that says, damn, I was so happy killing all these bunnies, and then you put a bunch of exclamation points after that. And there's a good chance that person's is going to feel obligated to play your game. And not only play it, but rate it and comment on it, right? And that's what you're looking for. Now, you're not looking for, I mean, you're looking for comments in general, because this whole thing's a learning experience, right? You're learning the whole system, and every time you do it, it's always going to be different, right? I'm still learning things as I go through. I always like to set myself up with a sub-challenge. Like, this time I'm going to learn how to do isometric, or this time I'm going to learn how to do platforming, or this time I'm going to learn how to do voiceovers. There's always something you want to teach yourself, right? Anyway. All right, packaging, right? You want to make your product attractive. Otherwise, no one's going to bloody play it. You need screenshots. If your game is for a single platform, you want a video of you playing it. You want a good description. You want to be able to offer hints so that when users play the game and they get entirely confused because obviously we had no game testing, right? You can, point them to that so that they have sort of an idea of what they're doing. Providing a lot of information for people who want it, and obviously providing download links so that people can get at it, right? Packaging is really important. Thank you very much, guys. Let's jam.
It was a Cowboy Bebop reference at the beginning.
Anyway. Any questions?
It's a good show.
I had comments, but I forgot all of them. I'll bring a notepad next time.
I was gonna.
You said trust your team. Also, don't trust your team. Right? Like, leave some time if somebody needs to drop out for some reason.
So
yeah, definitely.
So trust your team within reason.
This is a
trust but verify.
Well, this is a personal thing for me. Is every time I go into a game jam, I assume everyone's going to leave and just leave me with everything. I assume that from the very beginning. I always assume that everyone's going to leave, and I'm going to, because it's happened to me before. There was this one kid that he gave me some. I was like, let me see. I'm a programmer. I want to work with you. I'm like, okay, cool. And he gives me this code sample so I can verify that he was a programmer because he's never made a game before. And I'm like, okay, object orientation, polymorphism. This is really good, right? This kid knows how to code. And then it wasn't until halfway through, when the kid drops out, that I realized, I Googled the code, and I realized it was a tutorial. And I got really pissed off because I just promised to do a networked game in 48 hours. That was hell. We did it. It was hell. But
which game is that?
Exapolis.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, have I played that one? I don't
Maybe.
think I played that one.
I don't know if the server's up. I gotta fix that. But
Anyway.
I was supposed to do all the server stuff. My accomplishment for that was to figure out how servers work in 48-hour time periods. And then this kid was supposed to make the front end, and it just didn't work. It was just I had to do everything except for the art. Bless that kid that did art. Yes.
So then I guess the message would be like trust your team, but eliminate single points of failure. So
Yes.
like have a contingency plan.
No, that's rather important.
It's always good to have a plan B, C, and D if need be.
I think that'd be a good slide to add.
But don't
Trust
get
your
to plan
team,
F.
but don't trust
you're totally
your team.
fucked.
Yeah, well that is plan F. Just a fuck screw. Done. I was gonna sort of comment and bounce off of what he said briefly. With having, you said something about the whole shower joke thing, but and really they've actually done really cool studies on it, and I think some have been studies paid for by Google, and which is why their work environment's kind of fun there, is because it's been proven that an extremely productive high stress environment, you're not going to get as much done as an extremely productive, but for the most part, stress-free environment. That is not because you don't have extra stuff to think about and waste brain power on. It's just, I'm having fun, let's do this, woo! Oh, well, I know I already finished for the day, but I guess I'll keep working because I'm having fun. And it's good, I think. I don't know. I'm biased, so.
If there's no other questions, thanks for
I was
listening.
going to comment, actually. On the learning to talk thing, I just worked on a project, not a game jam thing, but a project where I was working remotely with other people. And there's a site called Slack, and it's kind of like IRC. It's like a web app, and you can have different channels and stuff. But it keeps a full log of everything, and
that's nice.
It tracks files and Dropbox stuff, and integrates with GitHub and
That's
Bucket and all that sort of stuff. It's really, really good. It's perfect for game jams.
Yeah.
So if you're working with people remotely, or even just in the same room, because that's the thing. I ended up I was working remotely, and then I ended up going to Austin to finish the project for like a week and a half, and I was still on Slack talking to everyone because everything's right in front of me.
Yeah.
The record.
Is the privacy policy for that? I mean, it's a weird question, but is it sketchy? Because I know there's some sites where it's like if you upload content to it, our site technically owns it or has partial ownership.
No, I don't think so.
So I know Facebook at least used to
It's
do that.
nothing
They
like
probably
that.
still
Slack
do,
is
but
specific for projects, so like
that's good.
companies use
You
it.
should also check out HipChat.
Yeah, it's similar to that actually.
Yeah,
in
we
fact,
use that when I work.
while we were using Slack, HipChat got announced, I think.
Ah,
And I'm
right.
like, oh, this might end up getting bought by Slack.
Gotcha.
I posted that into the Meta channel on Slack.
I think Atlassian owns HipChat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like something they would do.
Yeah.
Well, that was so exciting. Thank you very much.
So when are we gonna do a game jam?
Oh, that is a really good point.